So these are some of the Chapter 7 notes that we would be taking in class today if you were in person. I know some of you are at home because this is a B day, I think, and you're an A-day student. You still need these notes. You would still be taking them today, right? So I'm sending this to everybody. Everybody should have these notes in their notebook, all right? 7.14, digestive system bacteria. I think we've already gotten these notes. So again, you would pause and copy down the yellow if you don't have this. But gut bacteria are important. They make vitamins for us. They help prevent the growth of harmful bacteria, and they can help break down stuff that we can't break down, such as complex carbohydrates like fiber. All right. How to keep your system healthy. Make sure you cook food properly. Make sure you wash your hands. That is so important. If you touch raw meat, wash your hands before you touch anything else. A lot of people get food poisoning in their own homes because whoever's cooking dinner, they touch something like raw chicken, and then they cut up apple slices or something, and now the apple slices have those chicken germs on them. So make sure you cook your foods properly to the right temperature, especially meats, and make sure you wash your hands before you start preparing food, after you prepare food, and before you eat. Okay. Again, pause if you need to copy this down. These are some examples of foodborne bacteria and stuff. And so I'm going to move my floating head so you can see everything. I'm trying to move my floating head. There we go. Okay. You don't need to copy this down. You should be familiar with it. So just make sure you read through this slide if you haven't already. Again, here, I don't need you to necessarily memorize this slide or anything like that, but just be familiar with it. Like if you see Giardia in a test question, I don't want it to be a complete surprise to you, like you've never seen the word before. All right, moving my head again. All right, food allergies occur when the immune system reacts to harmless food as if it was harmful. This is the same thing that happens when you're allergic to pollen or bee stings or whatever. But with food allergies, it's a food agent that is causing the allergic reaction. Anaphylaxis here in number 18. Anaphylaxis is a severe allergic reaction. And your textbook says that is particularly rare, but it is something to be concerned with because you never know, okay? Like someone might eat a peanut and they have a reaction, like maybe their face swells up and they take some Benadryl or something and they're okay. And then the next time they eat a peanut by accident, their throat could swell up and they won't be able to breathe. Okay, that would be anaphylaxis. So you never know. Okay, so if you know you're allergic to something, you need to be careful. And if you are concerned or your doctor is concerned that you could have an anaphylactic reaction, you need to see about getting an EpiPen to carry with you. Food intolerance just means your body can't break something down. For example, Celiac disease is the condition where people cannot break down gluten, and it causes problems for them in their digestive tract. Okay, that's an autoimmune disease. So that's the immune system. I wouldn't call it a food allergy, but it is the immune system reacting because of the gluten presence. Okay, a food insensitivity or intolerance is where, like, for example, you can't break down lactose and you end up with maybe some stomach cramping, diarrhea, tiredness, flatulence, fancy word for farts, okay, because your body can't break it down. By the way, if you see a word that ends in ASE, that's probably an enzyme. If you see a word that ends in OSE, it's probably a sugar, All right, blood diseases. Again, I just kind of want you to be familiar with these. Anemia is not having enough hemoglobin to carry oxygen. Could be caused for several reasons, but that's what anemia is. Sickle cell anemia is where the hemoglobin is not shaped correctly, and it causes the red blood cells to be a sickle shape or crescent moon shape, and that's a genetic condition. Blood cancers include leukemia and lymphoma, and then hemophilia, okay, is where there's a lack of clotting agents in the blood. So the blood does not clot properly, and so those people could bleed a lot from even a very simple cut. So on the picture on the right, that's blood cells, red blood cells from someone with sickle cell anemia, and on the right, those are regular, normal red blood cells. All right, now this you would copy down. So pause the video here, copy down the highlighted information, then we'll move on. All right, cardiovascular disease. Ethereosclerosis is where fats start building up on the arteries. Now, this happens anyway a little bit, but the problem is if you have a high fat diet, then it can happen sooner than it should. And so then what happens is other stuff starts sticking to that plaque, and it starts getting bigger and bigger. And if it blocks the artery, then it's going to block blood flow to wherever that artery goes. If it's going to your heart or it's part of your heart, then it could block flow to that part of the heart, and then that part of the heart could actually die, and that's called a heart attack. Okay? A stroke is when the same thing happens, but it's an artery going to the brain. Okay? All right, so here we have, so this is like skin or something, and then we have a cutaway here of an artery. And then you see the arrow on the left is pointing to the plaque buildup. And then on the right, you see a real life example. All right. And of course, Stereosclerosis causes can include a high-fat diet, having high cholesterol, smoking. Look, smoking is bad for you. There is no debate on this, okay? I believe that even 99% of smokers believe that it's bad for them. But unfortunately, they're addicted to it, and they either don't want to give it up or they need help giving it up. But the easiest thing to do is just never start. If you never start, you never have to stop. Obesity. Now, obesity in my mind is a little tricky because some people go by a chart, and depending on what you do, if you're a gymnast or a bodybuilder, you might score differently on that chart, even though you don't have any fat on you at all. Okay. You take a bodybuilder, they have like zero body fat, but okay, that chart is based on height and weight. So if you're a bodybuilder, you have a high weight because you're all muscle. Okay? So it's a little tricky. You need your doctor will help you figure it out if you're not sure. However, okay, you take me for example. I have some belly fat. I need to lose that. Okay, I'm working on that. The pandemic has not been good for my waistline. But keep in mind that some people are overweight for reasons beyond their control. Like I'm overweight because I don't exercise enough. I'll be honest. That's why. Now, some people have conditions where they have their hypothyroid. So their thyroid, which controls metabolism, works at a lower rate than the average person's. So they don't burn as many calories. So even if they're being careful about what they eat, it's easier for them to gain weight. Some people have problems absorbing calories or burning calories. So they may have a genetic problem that causes them to gain weight, and maybe they can't help it as much as the average person. I can help my weight gain, okay? I just have to make the choice to actually go on walks and burn those calories. All right? That's a choice. That's a lifestyle choice that I have to make. All right? Stereosclerosis prevention, eat healthy, exercise, don't smoke. Not smoking, well, and I'm including vaping in that, okay? Because vaping, in the best case scenario, vaping contains nicotine, and nicotine affects your arteries. It's a vascular constrictor. It causes your vascular system to constrict or narrow. That's going to raise your blood pressure, make your heart work harder. It's not good for you, okay? So in the worst case scenario, it might have nicotine plus who knows what else added to it, especially with some of the counterfeit or homemade cartridges. Okay, so just don't smoke, don't vape. And as I've said before, the better you eat and the more you exercise, the healthier every single part of your body will be. All right. And the coronary refers to the heart. If you're familiar with Spanish, corazon means heart. Okay, so coronary is the heart. Coronary arteries are the arteries that go to the heart. So again, this is a summary. This is what you would write down. So pause here, copy this down. All right, 721 Cardiovascular Health. Age, gender, and genetics are factors. Lifestyle factors, tobacco use. I'm telling you, tobacco use and vaping, they're some of the worst things you can do for your body. Diabetes, you can't help that. Okay. Now, maybe you made lifestyle choices and now you have diabetes. Maybe you were born genetically destined to have diabetes. Either way, once you have diabetes, you have to be careful and monitor what you're eating and your blood sugar. Lots of bad cholesterol in the diet. We'll talk about the difference in a second. Obesity, high blood pressure, lack of physical activity, ding, 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 poor eating habits. All of these things will increase your chances of having poor cardiovascular health. Okay, so you want to avoid those things. Now, here's the way I think about good and bad cholesterol. The LDL, or low density lipoprotein, okay, cholesterol is what they call bad cholesterol. It sits around in the arteries and stuff. It can stick to walls and build up and form those plaques. HDL is the high density lipoprotein, and it barrels through your arteries like a bull in a china shop. It knocks around those LDLs, it knocks them off of artery walls, keeps the blood going. Okay, so that's what's called the good cholesterol. So what you want to do, especially if you at some point are diagnosed with a cholesterol problem, you want to lower the saturated fat. Remember, where does saturated fats come from? Okay, you should have said animals. Saturated fats come from animal fats. So you want to lower the animal fat that you're consuming, increase your exercise, and probably increase those plant fats. Because you do need fats in your diet. Your cell membranes are made of or phospholipids. So you need fats in your diets for every cell membrane. But you want them to come from plants more than they come from animals. And exercise is very important because look, your liver can actually convert LDL into HDL, but your liver can only do that efficiently if you're healthy. So again, the more healthy you are, the more exercise you get, okay, the healthier your liver is, which means it can help keep you healthy. All right, so again, copy down the yellow, pause here for a second, and then we'll resume. All right, 722, respiratory system disorders. Bronchitis, it's just an inflammation of you have the trachea, and then it splits. If you're looking at my little video, my little floating bubble, your trachea comes down through your throat and splits into bronchi. If those bronchi become inflamed, that's bronchitis. Anytime you see the itis on the end of a word, it means inflammation. All right, asthma is a condition that can cause the trachea and the air passages to become inflamed and narrow, and that makes it hard to breathe. Pneumonia is when the alveoli, so you have the trachea, it branches off into the bronchi branch out into bronchioles, and then at the end of each bronchiole, there's air sacs or alveoli. So the alveoli, they can become inflamed and fill with fluid. That makes it hard to breathe. That's pneumonia. It can be caused by a virus or a bacteria. Question: which is easier to treat, viral pneumonia or bacterial pneumonia? Let's pause and think about it. All right, so hopefully what's gone through your mind is with a virus, we can't treat that with antibiotics. Bacterial pneumonia, we can treat that with antibiotics. So bacterial pneumonia is going to be easier to treat in most cases. Tuberculosis is caused by bacteria. Lung cancer is when cells don't stop dividing, and they just keep dividing and they build up and form a tumor or a mass. Emphysema is the breakdown of lung tissue because of maybe a chronic health condition or smoking. All right, so again, here we have a pathogen. This is a vocab. Pathogen is an organism that causes disease. All right. Cold and flu is caused by a pathogen that is a virus. Tuberculosis, whooping cough, and acute bronchitis are caused by bacteria. Okay, so antibiotics work for those things. Cold, flu, and TB pathogen can be spread from person to person. That means it is contagious. If someone with the flu coughs on you, you have a very high chance of catching the flu from them. Okay? That's why we sneeze or cough in our elbow. That's why we're wearing masks with COVID. Okay? And honestly, I saw a meme the other day, and it said, it was from a teacher, I think, and the teacher was like, I love my mask. I can't believe I let everybody just breathe on me all these years. And I kind of get that. Okay? We're probably going to have a low flu rate this year, and so far the school hasn't had that many cases of COVID. And I think most of that is because we're wearing masks. If we're wearing the mask and correctly, we cover the nose, we cover the mouth, okay? You can't really, a lot of air doesn't get through it. We'll watch a video later on when we get to one of the disease chapters that shows a comparison. All right, so again, you would copy down the yellow. So pause here, copy this down. All right, respiratory system health. Lifestyle disease are diseases that are caused by choices that people make in their daily lives. That is a vocabulary you need to know. So take a moment and write that down. All right, ways to keep your lungs healthy. Avoid smoking. Notice that's number 1 on the list, folks. Okay, eat well. Exercise regularly. I could do more of that. Okay, get rest. Wash your hands. Okay, you touch things all day long. Okay, and then you rub your eye and you pick your nose, or you pick up a Cheeto and you put it in your mouth. Every time you do that, the germs on your hands are getting in your eye or up your nose or down your throat. Okay, so you got to watch out for yourself. Wash your hands. It's the aside from mask, possibly is the most important thing you do. Actually, is probably the most important thing you can do. Okay? Wash your hands, social distance, wear a mask. The 3 W's the governor keeps talking about. All right? Avoid contact with others when they're sick. So, if you're sick, stay home. Okay? If you're sick but well enough to do work, let us know. You can be virtual that day. If you're sick and can't do work, let us know that. Okay? Just let us know. Either way. But if you're sick, stay home. Get recommended vaccines. Okay? Every so often, you should be going to the doctor. It was more frequent when you were younger, and the doctor would tell your parents what vaccines you should have. All right, again, here's a summary. You're going to copy down the yellow. So pause the video, copy that down. All right, and that brings us to disease, and it also brings this video to 21 minutes. So I'm going to pause here, and we'll resume later. You got work in Google Classroom. Some of you still have the benchmark to do, so make sure you're getting those things caught up. All right, stay curious.